You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, a semi-weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Join your host, Steph, on Wednesday mornings to chat about seasons, Sabbats, and all new witchcraft topics to help you make your life more magical. Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. I'm Steph, and today you are listening to September's magic episode. Each month this year, I've been doing one of these just to go over the energies of the month, the holidays that might be coming up that you might want to incorporate into your witchcraft practice, and other ways you can observe the energies and moon phases and correspondences that go along with the month. September is the month of release, and it's going to be a fairly quiet one. The name September comes from the Latin word septem, which means seven. In the original Roman calendar, September was the seventh month of the year. It originally started in March, so September was 7, and then the calendar later reformed to include January and February to make the 12-month calendar, and then September became the 9th month, but the original name stuck that reflects its original position in the older calendar system. The universal month number for September is 8, the number of power, and that is the number that deals with taking charge and making things happen. The tarot card for September is the Star. So that sort of suggests that anything that has been in the pipeline for a while might just fall into place all of a sudden. That also goes along with that number 8. It's just the month of making things happen. And I think there was quite a bit of a slump for a lot of people in August. That came up over with my patrons on Patreon a lot. I posted some spells for motivation, creativity, just getting back on track at the beginning, mid-August, and everyone was like, this is perfect timing because I am just in such a slump and I don't know how to motivate myself to get out of it. So if you were feeling that as well, September might be your month for making things happen and getting out of that feeling. As far as astrology, the sun is currently in Virgo until the autumnal equinox, Mabon, on the 22nd, when it will move into Libra. Virgo is a hardworking, mutable earth sign. And again, that is in harmony with the universal month number. Virgos are the take charge sign and hardworking, get stuff done sign in the zodiac. The correspondences for September, the crystals are the sapphire, zircon, and sardonyx. The animals are the bear, stag, and fox. The flowers are the aster and the morning glory. And some of the deities associated with September are Frigg, Hestia, Persephone, and Odin. As far as what's going on with the moon phases, we have the new moon in Virgo on the 2nd. So the start of this month is ideal for that hardworking, sweat equity, put in the work, great for beginning health journeys and for starting new schedules. The second quarter moon is on the 11th in Sagittarius, which might bring some distractions if Sagittarius energy is a little flighty. And then we have the full moon in Pisces, and Pisces moons in general are great for dream work and spirituality, on the 17th, and that is going to be a super moon and a partial lunar eclipse. So perfect time to blend Virgo's practical energy with the more creative energy of the Pisces. And then we have the fourth quarter moon in Cancer on the 24th, which might make people a little bit oversensitive about things. As far as the holidays, we have Mabon, but not too many more besides that. We do have Labor Day in the US and Canada, the first Monday in September, which is celebrating the contributions of workers. In the US, this usually marks like the official end of summer. I think that has changed in recent years. Very far back in my memory of like grade school, I remember not going back to school until this time, but I feel like once I was in college and law school, we were going back to school in the middle of August. So I'm not sure what the schedule is like now, but it seems like it starts earlier and earlier. We also have Patriot Day on September 11th, the day of remembrance for the victims of the 9/11 attack in 2001. We have the International Day of Peace on September 21st, which is a day dedicated to promoting world peace and ending violence and war. We have the Mid-Autumn Festival in China and a few other East Asian countries, which is also known as the Moon Festival, and it's celebrated on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, which often falls in September, and specifically this year it falls on September 17th. It's a time for family gatherings, moon gazing, and enjoying something called mooncakes. And we also have the start of Oktoberfest in Germany, usually in late September, and this year it is on September 21st. And of course, Oktoberfest is a world famous festival that celebrates all things Bavarian culture, beer, food, entertainment. It's a good time. I have never been to the Oktoberfest in Germany. I have been to Germany, but not for Oktoberfest. And I have family that just went 2 years ago, had a wonderful time. But it is a big celebration here in Chicago too. There are a lot of German roots in Chicago, and there's multiple areas full of like German restaurants and bars and things. And Oktoberfest is very much celebrated here. And then, of course, we have Mabon on September 22nd. This tends to be pretty high on the list of people's favorite holidays, Sabbats to celebrate. Mabon, of course, being the festival celebrated as part of the Wheel of the Year and specifically marks the autumn equinox. Usually falls between September 21st and 23rd in the Northern Hemisphere. This year, September 22nd. It is the day when day and night are of equal length, just like its counterpart for the spring equinox, which is Ostara. Mabon is a time of honoring the second harvest. Lammas was the first, this is the second, and then Samhain is a little bit considered the third. And also time for giving thanks for the abundance of the earth and acknowledging that the darker days of winter are coming. It's often referred to as the pagan Thanksgiving. So you're celebrating using everything that you gathered from that second harvest, including vegetables, grains, fruits like apples, and people give thanks for that abundance that they received and share that with others. So if you are not very into the Thanksgiving that traditionally comes up in the States in November, you might want to celebrate at this time instead. It's also great for balance and reflection since it is the equinox. Day and night are of equal length. It's lots of balance themes to go along with that. So great for reflecting and acknowledging both the light and dark aspects of life and to seek balance within yourself, your life, your relationships. I personally think that's a very difficult thing to do. I always feel like something is going to be out of balance, but it's a good time to remember that and try to get things back in order. And of course, it's that transition to winter. So it's also a time to prepare for the coming winter months, physically, spiritually. So that's gathering resources, finishing any projects, setting your intentions for the winter season. We aren't as much harvesting and preparing the crops and preserving them for the winter months in our, modern society. Some people still do that, but I am not one of them. And I don't think a lot of people are, but there is still a way to prepare for those winter months and appreciate Mabon for, giving that warning to get ready. Some traditions associated with Mabon, of course, are feasting, so sharing meals, especially featuring seasonal produce. That's apples, squash, grains. That's sort of a central part of this particular celebration. You can make an altar decorated with various symbols of the harvest. That's corn, pumpkins, apples, acorns, fall leaves, the colors, red, orange, brown, gold. And you can do some crafting, making items like corn dollies, wreaths, candles, all ways to connect with the energy of Mabon. If you want more particular ideas, step-by-step crafting, recipes, spells and rituals, journal prompts, tarot, those are all over on Patreon. I can't remember if they're already up by the time you are listening to this episode, but if not, they will be up very soon. I do an ebook for every Sabbath. So if you want more information, that will be over there. And that is all of the holidays. Like I said, it's a pretty quiet month. There's not too much going on. We have the equinox and we have the supermoon partial lunar eclipse. But other than that, it seems like a relatively quiet month coming up. September always carries a little bit of a unique energy because it is marking that transition from summer to fall in the Northern Hemisphere, of course. And that makes it associated with themes of change and reflection and just preparation as we get into the more introspective energies of the fall season. So if you want to incorporate these key energies into your witchcraft and your practice in September, you absolutely can do that. And you don't have to wait for the actual day of Mabon. It is really great to observe that day and night of being of equal length on that actual day, but the entire season sort of celebrates this Mabon festival from beginning of September and a little bit into October before we hit the Samhain season. So you have a lot of time this month to tap into those energies. First, of course, being transition and change. So that very vibrant energy of summer begins to wind down. So great for introspection and grounding. A time for slowing down, reflecting on the year so far, and then preparing for the colder months ahead. That's something that I like to do in September because I do feel like my life kind of winds up, gears up in October. Since Halloween is such a big holiday for us, the entire month of October seems to be packed with activities. And November is as well in a different way because it's my birthday and we have other things going on then. And then, of course, you get into the Yule/Christmas season, and before you know it, you are at the start of a new year and trying to figure out where those last couple of months or weeks went when you weren't able to do as much reflecting and preparation. So I do like September for that energy. I also like it for that harvest and gratitude energy. That is something that I forget to do in my own life, is taking stock of what I have accomplished in the last 8 months. I like to goal set, and sometimes the process of setting the goals and then working on them means more to me than the end result. So even if I do achieve that goal, I sort of gloss over it. And if I have not achieved a particular goal that I set out to do, I sometimes beat myself up over it because I have perfectionist tendencies. So great month if you are like me, to actually appreciate the progress that you have made, because no matter what, you absolutely have gotten things done in the last 8 months. Even if it didn't turn out exactly how you predicted on January 1st, you still have done so much. So I like the September energy for just appreciating the efforts that I have made and appreciating any abundance that did come from that. So it's not just about the harvest in terms of actual food being harvested, but the harvest of all of the hard work that I put in and any abundance that came from those efforts. Like I said, the equinox is associated with that balance and harmony. So if you are struggling, it is the ideal month to work on that idea of equilibrium and seeking balance in like the different areas of your life between work and rest, or specifically related to the harvest between giving and receiving, and also between action versus contemplation. There is room for all of those things in your life, and sometimes we just lean more heavily into one over the other. So it could be a very good time to reflect on that and see where things are going and make changes as necessary to bring your life a little bit more into balance. September makes a great time to make those changes because it is associated with new beginnings, especially in the context of academic cycles here in the States. Not everywhere is on this September start. We have that in the States because it was such a heavy agricultural society that people had a lot of kids to help on the farms, so the kids could not go back to school until the farming was done. So that's why we have this September start date. Not every place has that. They will start a new school year in January. But if you are here in the States, as most of my listeners are, it's really that new start feeling. And I know that I'm always distracted by calendars at this time because I love a good planner, and they come out with new planners at this time because there are so many people that start an academic year planner. And I love just looking at them and getting excited for like a fresh start, even though I'm not in school, so it's not my personal fresh start, but it still has that energy this time of year. And it tends to be that way with work cycles as well. And summers are a little more casual. A lot of people do summer Fridays where they get off early. And then September is kind of getting back into the swing of a normal work cycle. If you feel that way as well, especially if you had an August slump, then this is a good month for setting new intentions, starting new projects, or implementing any changes that you want to have in your life. And lastly, it's got great energy for grounding. Summer tends to be very outward, enthusiastic energy. And then as we move into the fall months, it's much more inner focus. So September is a great month for grounding practices to reconnect with nature, or just engage in your witchcraft practice in any sort of practices that more center you and focus on what really matters to you. Again, something that I'm doing in my own practice of sort of simplifying my life and what I actually like to do when it comes to witchcraft. I talked about that over on YouTube if you're interested. And just making those changes through grounding, through figuring out what I actually like and what is benefiting me right now, which is different than what I needed at the beginning of summer. So your seasons are changing, and therefore your practice should ideally change along with you to suit the different needs that you have at different times of year. That's everything that I have for September. I hope you found that helpful, found a fun holiday to celebrate, got some ideas for Mabon, and just some ideas for what to do with the energy of the month. Do let me know in the comments if you have anything planned for September that you're specifically going to tap into, or anything planned for Mabon. I would love to hear what your ideas are for celebrating the holiday. That's everything that I have for this episode. I will see you all next week.
Need even more witchcraft in your life? Subscribe to Witch Wednesdays on Patreon and YouTube for all types of exclusive bonus content like spells, recipes, book reviews, and more, or even order personalized tarot readings and spells. Be sure to follow on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast, and you can find all these links and more at witchwednesdays.com.